The following lesson is linked to Learning Outcome 4, Language, and addresses the assessment standard that requires learners to identify and use parts of speech such as nouns, verbs, pronouns, adjectives, and adverbs in a range of texts accurately and meaningfully.
Hi, I'm Charlotte. Now, what do you think when I say effective grammar? This is what some of our learners had to say.
Work. You have to work hard with grammar.
Grammar is words that you can use.
I think that grammar will be important to my future one day is because when I want to explain something, I'll know exactly what it is and what to do and what to say.
It is very difficult, but eventually you do get the hang of it.
Verbs, finite verbs, subordinate verbs.
If there was a such thing as grammar, we wouldn't be able to communicate.
Grammar is important because you have to know how to construct your words and your sentences in order to get far in life. Well, if I use it correctly, very intelligent and sensible and articulate.
Yeah.
I also used to think that this part of English was confusing and sometimes very boring. But this series of lessons is going to change your mind. Just you wait and see. Now, do you ever get confused between what your teacher means when he or she says parts of speech and figures of speech? We went to a service station, and the comparison you are about to see will help you understand the difference between the two. You're probably wondering why on earth we went to a garage for an English lesson on parts of speech. The point of having a car is to get you from A to B, right? So how do these cars relate to parts and figures of speech? It's easy to understand how a car works. Each part is designed to fulfill a specific function, and each part works with other parts to get the car to move. The wheels are round and fit onto the axle. They are designed to work with the engine to move the car forwards or backwards. In the same way, sentences are made up of words which are parts of speech. Each part of speech has a unique function, and these words work together in order for the sentence to make sense and communicate meaning. So what's the difference between these two cars? They both have all the parts to make them work: engines, four wheels, brakes, a steering wheel, and an exhaust. And they would both get you to your destination. Figures of speech are like the extras on a luxury car. A car can go without them, but they make the experience all the more pleasurable. In the same way, figures of speech such as similes, metaphors, or onomatopoeia are not essential to a sentence, but they usually make sentences more interesting. You probably won't find too many of them in ordinary communication, but you will see plenty of them in poetry, plays, novels, and adverts. They make the writing livelier and help us to imagine. I'm sure that the comparison we've just seen clarify the difference between parts of speech and figures of speech for you. So let's get into the nitty-gritty parts of speech. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify the most common parts of speech and understand their functions. You will have studied parts of speech before getting to grade 11, but it is essential that you understand them fully before we move on to more advanced skills in effective grammar. So in today's lesson, we are going to revise the various parts of speech. Here is a definition. Parts of speech are the words that make up the sentences we use. When we identify a part of speech, we need to understand the job or function of that word within the sentence, what it does. Because if you do not understand what each part of speech does, it becomes difficult, almost impossible, to correct any errors in your work. Just as knowing the different functions of engine parts makes it easier to fix a car. Understanding why a word has been used incorrectly makes it easier to fix a sentence. Let's begin by taking a look at nouns. You'll remember that nouns are quite easy to identify. Nouns name people, places, objects, feelings, and ideas. You remember from your previous English studies that there are 5 different types of noun: common nouns, proper nouns, collective nouns, abstract nouns, and pronouns. So ordinary or common places, people or objects fall under common nouns. If you take a look around you right now, you will find many examples of common nouns: desk, pen, classroom, teacher. Back at the service station, we saw many common nouns: petrol pump, window, shop, wheel, and car. Proper nouns, on the other hand, name particular places, people, or objects. For example, your name is a proper noun, as is the name of your school. Sasol and Sipu. They are both examples of proper nouns. Note that they start with capital letters. A collective noun is exactly that: the name of a group or collection of people, places, or objects. An example of a collective noun is a crowd of teenagers or a set of spanners. Then there is the abstract noun. They are a little bit more tricky because they are the names given to things that we know are there but can't actually see. Abstract nouns are usually the name of a feeling or of an idea. Words like exhilaration, love, and excitement are abstract because we can feel them and know that these feelings are there, but we certainly can't hold or grasp them. At this petrol station, Thandi performs her job with pride. Pride is also an example of an abstract noun. It describes a feeling of pleasure or satisfaction. You can't actually touch pride, but her smile and attitude show that she definitely has pride. And lastly, there's the pronoun. Words like I, him, her, it, and they. These are all pronouns and are often used in the English language. Now let's take a look at some sentences. Sam washed the windscreen for Sam. That sounds a little bit odd, doesn't it? Now let's replace the last noun Sam with the pronoun himself. Sam washed the windscreen himself. Now that makes more sense. The sentence sounds much better and far less clumsy when the pronoun himself is used. Is the function of a pronoun clear to you? Let's try one more example. Lebu filled up the tank for Sam. Could we replace all the nouns in this sentence with pronouns? Let's try. First, we need to identify the nouns in the sentence. They are Lebu, tank, and Sam. Then we need to find appropriate pronouns to replace them. So instead of Lebu, we could write he. Instead of tank, we could write it. And instead of Sam, we could write him. So, he filled it for him. pronouns are used, the sentence is not quite as specific as when nouns are used. Although using pronouns makes English less clumsy, we must always be careful when using them, because if too many pronouns are used, the listener or reader may become confused and your sentence may not communicate accurately and effectively. Also, always remember that the first time you refer to someone or something, you should use the person or object's name so that the listener knows who or what you are referring to, and only after that would you use pronouns. We have spent quite a lot of time on pronouns, so let's move on to adjectives. An adjective is a word which supplies more information about a noun. Adjectives usually make our understanding of something more detailed or more interesting. They describe the noun. Take a look at this sentence. This sentence tells us only that a man stepped out of a vehicle. We have no real idea of what the man looked like or what type of car was involved. Let's add a few adjectives and see what they do to the sentence. The young athletic man stepped out of the shiny four-wheel drive vehicle. Now we have a clearer picture of the situation. But look at what happens if I choose different adjectives. We can say the overweight man stepped out of the old bashed up vehicle. The picture in your head is now very different, isn't it? So the function of adjectives is to provide more information about the nouns. A junction is where things join. In this case, traffic. In parts of speech, a conjunction also joins things together. A conjunction is a linking word which joins words, parts of sentences, or sentences. Until, because, although, and, but, so, or, as. What do these words have in common? That's right, they are joining words, conjunctions. Conjunctions are very useful because they allow us to express more than one idea in a sentence. Let's look at an example. Sam filled the tank because it was empty. Do you see that the conjunction because joins two sentences? Sam filled the tank and it was empty. As an exercise, see if you can use the following words in sentences. Until, because, although, and, but, so, or, as. Now what about the preposition? What function does it have? Let's look at these two sentences. Tandi works at the petrol station. Her friend Lesedi works with her. Have a closer look at these words. At and with. These words are not conjunctions because they are not joining two sentences or ideas. They are, however, prepositions. So what makes them prepositions? Preposition is a word which shows the relationship of one thing to another. In these sentences, the prepositions at and with both follow the verb works. Why hasn't the same preposition been used in both sentences? Well, in the first sentence, the preposition at links Tandi to the petrol station, her place of employment. In the second sentence, with links Tandi and Lesedi, her friend. Here, the prepositions show that they both work there. The relationship is between two people and not a person and a place. Aish, the next part of speech we need to review is really quite interesting. Interjections.
An interjection is a word which conveys an emotion and which is usually part of spoken English.
It is quite clear what the function of this part of speech is. Interjections add colour and flavour to speech. What's fascinating is that these words change depending on where you are. For example, the word aish is South African and would not be used overseas. Although we use words like aish, wow, hey, when we are speaking to friends or when we feel we need to express our feelings on a particular matter, we would not really write these words. Listen out for these colourful words and become aware of how much texture and interest they add to conversations. There are two more parts of speech I want to look at today. Definite and indefinite articles. They are really easy.
A definite article indicates one particular thing, and there is only one definite article, the. An indefinite article indicates a single thing, but not a particular one, and there are only two indefinite articles, a, an.
These are easy. If we talk about the car, we are referring to a particular car. Whereas if we speak about a car, we mean any car. So you may say, I want to buy a new car. Any new car will do. You are not referring to a specific car. You may also say, the car that I have is getting too old. Now you are referring to a specific car. The car indicates one car in particular. It is really important that you remember that a word may function as a different part of speech depending on how it has been used in a sentence. Don't look at a word and decide its part of speech until you have managed to identify what it actually does in the sentence, what its function is. Let's clarify what I mean.
He pumped up the flat tire. She lived in the flat near the service station.
In both these sentences, I've used the word flat. He pumped up the flat tire and she lived in the flat near the service station. If you were asked to decide on what part of speech the word flat is in each sentence, you would have to look carefully at how the word has been used in each sentence. What is the word doing in the first sentence? Well, in sentence 1, the word flat is telling us more about the noun tire. We learn that it is not inflated, it is flat. Because the word flat is giving us more information about the noun tire, flat functions as an adjective. The function is slightly different in the second sentence. Here, the word flat is the name of something, a type of accommodation. This is quite an easy one. The word flat is functioning as a noun. Can you identify the type of noun? Well done. It is a common noun. In this lesson, we revised various parts of speech. We spoke about nouns, adjectives, pronouns, conjunctions, prepositions, interjections, and articles, and highlighted their different functions within sentences. Here is a useful summary table. Nouns are naming words. Adjectives are describing words. Pronouns replace proper nouns. Conjunctions join sentences. Prepositions show relationships. Interjections show emotion and are spoken. Definite articles indicate a particular thing, and indefinite articles indicate any singular thing. Here is today's task. The following sentences contain at least one example of each part of speech we learnt about in today's lesson. Can you identify them? Ouch, yelled Jabu. You dropped a heavy spanner on my toe and I think it's broken. But what about verbs and adverbs? Aren't they parts of speech? Yes, they are a part of speech, and we will be looking at them in quite some detail in our next lesson. Join me then. Goodbye.